Free time is something us as humans cherish, an escape from the pressures of life that's work and school. Some people spend theirs going for a drink, others like to stay active and work out. I apparently like to spend mine torturing myself by dying repeatedly in a video game. The first choice I was presented with was what type of character I wanted to select, and obviously I chose the samurai because he's the coolest, plus he had a bow, which meant I could cheese my way through encounters instead of being turned into grated cheese. Then I selected a keepsake that I never used my whole playthrough, wondered why my character was female before noticing it was because I'd selected the wrong body type, made a disturbing song out of the character voice types, and it was on to character customization. I was going to be hit a lot on my journey, so I went with realism and gave my character a face that people would want to punch. By the end of designing my face, it looked like my character had been punched repeatedly, and by punched, I mean ran over by a tractor. Next it was on to hair, makeup and eyes. I had fun here, and probably could have stopped playing at this point and gave the game a 10 out of 10 right there and then, for letting me design the perfect character, but I pushed on and started the game. The game showed me a cutscene. I had no clue what was going on. I woke where I usually wake up most weekends in some sort of tomb, was told by another player to seek the Elden Ring, but no one tells me what to do. Apart from another players kept pressuring me to roll, I obliged, fell to my death and developed trust issues for the rest of my life. I left my own note thinking I was funny, saying despair, but little did I know I was actually heading into despair. A giant spider appeared to show me I wasn't funny by kicking my ass, and my screen went black. Luckily a cutscene followed, which meant I could blame my fails in story progression rather than my skills as a gamer. A horse stiffed my hand, which wasn't the worst thing to stiff my hand that week. Ben left, just like everything else that stiffs my hand. Still no horse, and still no Elden Ring. I spoke to a spirit who told me to take the plunge. I did, by plunging my sword into someone's back, and complete the tutorial by finding a statue that resembled me. Then I opened my door to freedom and stepped out into the world of Elden Ring. Damn was it beautiful. I stood there just admiring the world for a minute and breathed in some of that fresh air before it was filled with the stench of death. Tried to take a picture for a thumbnail, which I never even ended up using, and made my way to the first NPC I could see. He told me to follow the guide of Grace. Little did he know, the last time I followed someone called Grace, I was arrested and given a restraining order. Showed the rest of Limgrave I wasn't to be messed with by picking a fight with the biggest guy I could see. Immediately regretted it as his horse trampled on my dead corpse and found a guy fishing, but didn't have the heart to tell him that fish don't live in dirt. It turns out this guy's a merchant, so I took advantage of his stupidity, hoping he didn't know the real value of the items he had. I didn't know the value either, which meant I got a good deal in my mind. Then I found this statue that pointed me to a cave, which wasn't even very hidden, and I'm sure I would have found it on my own without it, but I didn't want to hurt the statue's feelings, so I entered the cave. Inside, I discovered that even if I didn't want to hurt the statue, they definitely wanted to hurt me. Unfortunately for me though, I only found this out as my entrails lay on the floor next to me. I tried again, this time beating my foes, then I found out I went through all that for one root resin. All I can say is, it better have been the rootiest resin that ever existed. I made my way through the tomb several times. One time I was burned to death, one time I was ambushed by a pack of pissed off statues, then I cleared the area, only to find out there was nothing there. I didn't need to go that way, and it was now me who was pissed off. But I pushed on, with each death feeling like I was learning. Apart from that time I died right after pulling the lever to open the room to the boss, and I had to go through the whole tomb again, just to collect my souls. All in that instance was what being kicked in the balls felt like. Finally, it was time to face my first boss. Another player left a note to be wary of the dog. I ignored him and travelled through the mist, and as the boss pulled my body for a stone sword, I couldn't help but think to myself, this dog looked more like a cat. I tried again and again to beat this boss. Sometimes I'd get closer than before, and other times make a complete mess of it, and I felt like I was back to square one. Looking back now, writing this script, after getting a lot far in the game, this boss now looks like child play, but at the time, this was as hard as the final boss to me. After more attempts, and I'm proud to admit, I finally defeated the cat dog and did a little jump in the air to celebrate. As I walked back out into the open air, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Well, that a relief. I'm not good at emotions, okay? I mean, what do I look like? A psychiatrist? This feeling never lasted long because 5 minutes later, I found another cave. Saw there was a grace point inside and braced myself for another boss battle. Inside, I found some cave moss and some wolves. I much preferred the cave moss. Slaughtered a mother's young right in front of her before reuniting the family in the afterlife. I joined them in the afterlife not long after when Beastman bested me, and by best me, I mean he cut me up like a shish kebab. But I had an ace up my sleeve. Remember that bow I got given at the start to cheese my way through encounters? Well, I knew it would come in handy. I rolled and rolled like my life depended on it. Well, I mean technically it did because my opponent was trying to kill me. Every now and then I would take a pot shot and then go back to rolling. Somehow, I managed to defeat the boss without taking a single hit and thought to myself, maybe I should become a Souls no hit runner. Then I looked at my health and remembered one of the wolves hit me on the way in and decided it was time for me to retire from no hit running. Then I went outside and killed a defenceless turtle to make myself feel better, bought some more stuff from the merchant who was still fishing in the dirt, and followed the light of grace to a camp. At the camp, I stole someone's shirt. Everyone was wearing it, so I caved into the fashion trend and put it on. One of the guards didn't like my shirt, so he alerted the rest of the camp. I dealt with most of the camp and found a map. Then one of the guards went to his big brother and told on me. The brother kicked my ass. I whipped out my special attack and dealt with him the second time. Then I trashed the place, stole their items, and then wondered if I was the bad guy. Being the bad guy isn't so hard when you have a horse, which was given to me by Mike Tyson. For a moment I was so happy. This happiness didn't last long, however, when this giant showed me that nothing in life is free. I tried to fight the giant for a bit before noping the hell out of there. Then I broke the game, by firing an arrow at the giant from above. Every time he forgot, the guy who was firing arrows at him existed. Yep, video game logic. But it was taking too long, and I got bored. A short time later, I discovered that wolves can fly, even though I'd been led to believe it was pigs. Found this woman who gave me a jellyfish, and asked me to deliver a message. The only message I'd deliver is death. Got ambushed, got blown up by a catapult, got blown up again, and made it across the bridge by blowing away everyone in my path. Then I summoned this sorcerer, but didn't know why. I found it 5 seconds later, when Margit the fell, tail whipped me into submission. It was at this point I discovered just how brutal Souls games are. I fought this boss again and again, for what felt like an hour, which is probably because it was an hour. It didn't help, but I found out later that you can get an item that chains Margit and makes this fight much easier. I didn't have this item and beat him like a man. And by a man, I mean by using my companion's cannon fodder and attacking him whilst his back was turned. R.I.P. Raw gear. Mike Tyson appeared again and told me they were worried about me. They can't have been that worried, because where the fuck were they when I was getting my ass kicked? That didn't matter, because I'd defeated my great enemy, although I knew this from the beginning, and I had many more challenges ahead of me. Still not Elden Ring though. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you to my patrons, Harry Haywood, Captain Tourette, Ash, Kajel Sinke, Sun Mumbo, and Zipnix.